Jim Green, a leader in Lutheran Men in Mission, the men's ministry of the ELCA. We've noticed something that many of us would like to ignore. So many young men are not connected with God through Jesus Christ because they can't connect with our existing churches and men's ministries. Young men are the demographic group most absent from Christian faith communities. Why is that, and what can we do? It has been the assumption that young men will return to churches when they settle down, get married, and have kids. And for many years this has been true to a certain extent. But we are increasingly entering a time when young men have nothing to return to. They never were a part of a community of believers. At the same time, major shifts are taking place within society and culture as to how people, especially young people, see the world. And many times, these new and different ways of understanding life conflict with values and structures on which our churches are based. Therefore, there is something deep down that just doesn't seem right about many churches to young men. And it goes much deeper than the style of music. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to expect young men to come to our existing worship gatherings or men's ministries. So what can we do? When we look across the country in our congregations, we see men who have walked with the Lord for half a century, men who have somehow stayed married to the same woman for 40 years, men who have the wisdom of many years lived, men who are by no means perfect but are willing to share their lives. Maybe you are one of these men. You have something young men need. And it's not your money or even your programs, it's you. Young men need you. Recent research, sponsored by Lutheran Men in Mission, shows us that fathers and other older male figures in a young man's life are the most significant factors in shaping their adult spiritual identity. So what if you were to start building a relationship with a young man? What if you took the initiative to invest in the life of just one young man as a primary way to introduce him to Jesus Christ and to show him what life with God truly looks like? We recently had the opportunity to talk with one man who has done just that. Don Escher has for the last several years been taking the initiative to build relationships with young men in the Minneapolis area. One of these young men is Brian Conkle. Let's take a brief look at their story.
My name is Don Escher. I'm a 76-year-old widower, and I say that because that explains partly about my background. And next to me is a young friend of mine from seminary.
My name is Brian Conkle. I am 26 years old. I'm a senior at Lutheran Seminary, and I'll be graduating in about 2 weeks.
The one good thing that came out of my wife's death, I think, was that prior to that, much of my faith was a matter of head or intellectual assent. And with her death came the heart as well. And as soon as that happened, and opening up to what the Lord wanted, these things just happened.
Well, I remember I was getting done with a class, and I was walking by my car out in the parking lot, and all of a sudden, this old guy comes up to me and just starts talking to me, and just, it was completely out of my box. Like, I've never had anything like that happen before. Thinking, what does this guy want to do with me? And what good reason would he have for coming and, having any interest in me? And we started talking, and next thing you know, we exchanged numbers and started calling, and before I knew it, we were over here at his house just hanging out. And And that was almost 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
And it was pretty amazing. And I think that when Don talks about the stereotypes that older people have of younger people, there's just as many negative ones that younger people have of older people, thinking that this person's set in his ways, this person thinks I'm just wild and crazy, this person thinks I'm this and that. And, you know, so I think that there's a lot of prejudices that young people have of older people. But then when we came here, me and some other students, we just had such a great time because Don is so genuine and just having a real care about us and what's going on in our lives. And we just built a great friendship throughout. And I don't know, it really makes it a new thing when you have that intergenerational piece. And I think that what's great about it is that Don learns from us, and he shows that he's like, we have something to offer to him, and he has something to offer us. And it's not this idea of just, I've got something to you, so sit there, Sonny, and listen.
Yeah.
It's like Don really appreciates what we have and what we're going through, and you can sense that that genuineness right off the bat. And
Well, the one thing that I found out is there was no generation gap between me and them because there was an element of trust. And I found myself being non-judgmental. I think too many older people are very judgmental of the younger group. But I did find one common thread. They're all searching, and most searching the wrong way, for the wrong thing. And I would always share my life story and my faith story, which had its bumps over the years. And they were just amazed that somebody who is active in the church, whatever that means, would have doubts, would have bumps in their faith. He says, I've got everything going for me. But after listening to you talk, he said, I know I'm missing one thing. And I said, what's that? He said, God. Can you help me find it?
I think that in our church, when we look for those moments to reach out to people and to be in community with one another, those opportunities are everywhere.
Right.
And the thing that all these people have in common, like myself and someone at Tires Plus, someone at TGIF, is that we're searching for God's presence in our lives, and we're searching for a sense of peace, we're searching for a sense of community, we're searching for all those things, and to feel valued by somebody who just genuinely cares. I mean,
I've always made it a point, and I kind of brag about this. I make a point of going up to the young people and say, I haven't met you yet, what's your name? And they look at me and I say, my name is so-and-so. Or if they play a trumpet solo, or today in church, the young fellow, he played a piano solo. I went up and I said, oh, that was great. I'm so glad you're here and doing it. So that after church, these young people, both boys and girls, will come up and give me a hug.
Mm-hmm.
While my colleagues are in their little groups.
Inspiring for a young person. I think when we talk about getting done with high school and going through college and all these things, we talk about discernment and thinking about be open and think about what God wants you to do with your life. And I think like what me and what other people are learning is that discernment is something that never stops. And here's a guy who was retired, whose wife died, who has cancer, and all these different reasons to just kind of shut himself down and not do anything. But Don continues to think about what God is doing in his life and what God is calling him to do on a daily basis. And I think that that's what I've realized is that you should never be retired. You should just transition, you know? You
can be tired. I'm blessed by these relationships because you've often heard a teacher say, you know, I get more out of it than I'm sure my students do. Well, that's the way I feel because I'm learning about a younger generation, what their needs are, what their hopes are, what their aspirations are. And in doing that, it fulfills me. It's hard to really put it into words. These relationships mean I'm connected. Not all my friends are my age. And I think that's helped me, think young. And I don't try to act a 25-year-old. Well, maybe sometimes I do. But my bones won't let me.
This relationship has made a huge impact on both Don and Brian. And given how young men are reached today, authentic relationships are the most effective way to engage them. So what might this look like? How do you get started? First of all, identify him. What young man has God put in your life? With whom do you have a natural connection? Then, take a risk and get to know him. Invite him into conversation by asking questions. Invite him out for dinner. Next, invest in an ongoing relationship with him. Capitalize on shared interests. Learn his story and share yours. Listen and be real. Along with this DVD, you received some written material that further explains this and provides some helpful models as to how to build these relationships. A new program will not work to connect with young men. Authentic relationships are what is needed, and that means that you are needed. God is here today sending you to go and invest in the lives of young men. You are needed, and you have what it takes. Through you, lives will be changed by God.